Who rolled in the stock cars? Was it Taylor
I
Mogart?
thought it was hobby stock.
Hobby stock.
Who rolled
You
in the
said it
hobby
was
stock?
Jay Loafman?
Yeah.
J-Lo. J-Lo. J-Roll.
Jada. I don't know any of her music. Oh, the singer lady. Oh, the singer
That's
lady.
Beyonce.
Whatever. Who cares? Yeah, you want to know what I think
Yes,
about?
Mason. I would agree.
Jenny from
That
the
is
block
completely
is
Beyonce.
J-Lo.
That is definitely a caution flag on you.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Track Packers podcast for episode 12 of season 2. Thank you so much for joining us for another week where racing has been very slim, but we still have some tough stuff to talk about. We have the full cast here with myself, Mason, along with John, Becca, and Jessa Pelkey, also known as the Chris Collinsworth of the Track Packers. Welcome, everyone, again for another fun week of racing adventures. We want to thank our presenting sponsor in 2023, Hitch Harness, Mr. Tyler Hall, developing the innovative product of the Hitch Harness. Focuses on two main aspects: safety, so that way you have safe receiver hitch storage in the back of your truck, and also efficiency. So you can have quick switch out of your projects. You don't have to waste time going in and out of the truck, quick and moving on to the next thing. And so head over to the Facebook page, Hitch Harness, so you can see what kind of styles and colors to choose from. Also, hitchharness.com is where you can find all the inventory that they have. And if you keep in tabs on the Facebook page, you may get a special promotion throughout the year because they do a lot of great promotions throughout the year. So thank you, Tyler, for the support of the podcast in 2023. So a couple housekeeping items before we really kick off the episode. So we're recording this on Sunday, May 14th, which happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Hope you all are having a great weekend. Thank you for allowing us in the racing community, especially to go out to the racetrack each and every single night, sometimes late nights. And so, it's a lot of sacrifice on your guys' part. And so thank you so much to the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day. So with being recording on a Sunday night, we actually are not at a racetrack, as you can obviously see. So Nodak Speedway actually just finished up, and Granite City is taking place right now. So typically we cover Sunday night racing, but for this episode, we won't be doing that necessarily. But encourage you supporting us, our friends over at the Dirt Weekly. They do a great job covering Nodak Speedway and over in the western North Dakota part of the state. So head over there. They do a great job of covering and recapping over there as well. With that, we are recording on Sunday so that our friend John Breckle can join us for this episode because he's going to be gone for the week with work. And so I always feel that the show is best with all four of us here. And I may not have said this on the podcast before, but I really do appreciate all three of you taking time out of your busy schedules. It's not my show. I view you guys as a very integral part of it. And so I appreciate you guys taking so much time out of your weeks to have some fun each and every single week on the podcast. And so different lineup because I messed up the intro the first time, so I'm starting in the back. But how is everyone doing? Jessup, how was your week gone?
Am I on the poll?
No, you're not on the poll. Unfortunately, John hasn't messed
not.
up yet.
Oh,
We're
yay.
not on the poll.
Good for us, John.
Good job, Jessup.
Technically, there have been a few times I wanted to throw the caution flag on John, but they were such minute little things. I've refrained from throwing the caution flag. But
In
he
other
has
words,
had a
Becca
few
is
errors.
being petty. She's just being petty.
No, I'm
It's
being
fine.
kind because I
She's
could
being very
have thrown the
petty
caution
about
flag.
Would
these
you
things.
call her Richard or Kyle
So
or Lee?
I would call her
What?
probably Lee. He's probably
What?
the old type of petty.
Oh,
Well, how are you doing,
I just
Jessup?
got it. I just got it.
That was a pretty good one, I think.
Becca's like, what?
I get it now. There's so many petties.
No, Mason, I'm doing pretty good overall. We've It's been a pretty good weekend. We got a lot of stuff done around here. Got to watch some racing, and the last couple nights have been pretty good.
Good deal, Miss Becca. How are you doing this week?
Good. Yeah, it's been a good, kind of low key, but we've gotten a lot of things done this weekend. So did some things around the house, watched some racing. John came over last night, had a great time, just hanging out on the couch watching racing from not only here in the North Dakota area, but all over the country. And then today, yeah, we celebrated Mother's Day, and we got to spend time with my family, and then watch some more racing. We watched part of Nodak tonight. Jessup is still watching racing downstairs, but
What? No, I'm focused.
oh
He's
yeah,
focused on the podcast.
I am doing live time research.
yeah, he's podcasting, but messaging us all the crazy things that are happening at other racetracks he's watching. So yeah, he's
Well, the
watching.
good news is,
yeah,
though,
I'm having a great time.
like Mason had mentioned, we might even be able to give like a little bit of a Sunday update because a lot of the tracks have actually completed or have been finished already. So we can actually watch and give just a little bit of an update on where they're currently at.
I got to watch
yeah,
most
that's a
of-
very good point. 'Cause
Yeah, I
again,
watched most of Nodak. So before Jessup took
Yep.
the computer and went downstairs. So yeah, great racing up there for their season opener. So and great car counts too. So congratulations to
Absolutely.
Nodak Speedway. They've made a whole lot of changes this off season, and I think the hard work before the season started for them has really paid off. So kudos to the Nodak Speedway on a very, what I would consider, successful season opener.
Well said. Yeah, we'll be able to touch a little bit on that. Yeah, because they moved through that program quick tonight for sure.
They did.
John, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It was kind of a sad weekend because it was kind of rainy and dreary around Bismarck, but it happens. There's weekends in May that typically it does this, so it's not surprising at all from that piece. But on a positive note, though, too, I mean, Bismarck this past week, we probably got about at least 3 inches of rain with the rain that we had throughout, last weekend and the beginning of this week, and then we had maybe a couple dry days in there, and then obviously it was wet here from Friday through pretty much all day yesterday. So so we got quite a bit of moisture, which is probably going to help us here as we go into the hotter months of the summer months. So I think that'll be very beneficial. So unfortunately, like we mentioned, a lot of the tracks got canceled because of it. So that was kind of a downfall and kind of sad too. But there was still some tracks that got it in with the weather. So kudos to them to be able to basically kind of beat Mother Nature with that too. But I think the next couple of weeks here, starting here, especially towards the middle and end of May, it's going to get really busy with racing wise because it looks like, knock on wood, weather might finally a little bit shape up. It looks like next weekend, and a lot of tracks are going to open. So that part will be good to see too for a lot of those facilities. But like Becca had mentioned, Nodak started tonight too. So, some of that was being watched. Devil's Lake started last night, so we watched some of theirs as well to go through. But yeah, it was kind of a low key weekend, but also a weekend to get things done. I got packed for our work trip that's coming up here tomorrow through next week, so that'll be kind of nice to see here too. And then yeah, get ready for next weekend already for some of the bigger specials of coming here as we hit the beginning of June.
Yeah, it's going to be the end of May, Memorial Day weekend, which is one of the biggest weekends of the racing season. And so, yeah, and a lot of tracks haven't opened yet. So it's going to be really hectic trying to keep track of everything. And so this week for me was kind of a little key weekend. I didn't put out a schedule. I didn't put out a schedule at all this week. It was kind of wait and see what was available for racing. And outside of racing, it's been a frustrating week just because I haven't been able to run or train for my half marathon, which is up in the air. So getting to the racetrack was kind of an escape for me this weekend. So really was appreciative of the racing that I was able to get to this weekend. And so we'll discuss all that as we drop the green flag on the official start of episode 12 and get right into who or what are you repping. We will start with Mr. Jessup Pelkey this week. Who or what are you repping?
Well, folks, I am continuing to follow the path of my hero, John Breckle, as I have a trend. Now, John did the trend of Jamestown Stampedes. I am doing the trend of irrelevant shirts that I don't know any of these people. Now, this week, we are going to go with the legends.
Question.
And nope, I'm talking.
Oh, look at that.
This is a legend. It is Tyler Goodwin of Kingsport, Tennessee. And that's about all I know besides this is from like 2012, 2013. I think he did some asphalt racing in Florida after this, and that's about all I know about him. Yes, Becca.
Question: Are you still planning to give them away to our listeners?
We could do that.
We don't know who these people are, so maybe
Yeah, we might have to do a some sort of contest.
Contest or like a bartering and trading type scenario.
Oh, yes, we could trade. I like that idea. Oh my gosh, I wear an XL. Becca wears a child's medium.
Small.
Medium.
I was
Well,
saying, John and I don't really need more shirts. I think we have plenty for a
We
while.
have a lot.
Well, I'm just
I still
here
haven't even
looking
hit
out for
half of mine
Becca.
yet.
That's what scares me. I've seen your house. If you have a room of just shirts, that could be a while.
So, well, I
Oh
have to
my
crawl over
God.
the stuff to get to the shirts.
How many vacuums do you have to climb over to get to the shirts? And
Well,
bowling
you need the
balls?
vacuums for, multiple uses around that facility.
The
Gotta step
vacuums
over
are
them.
next to the bats.
Oh goodness! Before this gets off the rails, Becca, what are you repping? As I have nothing to add to Jessup's unknown
Inside jokes. Yeah, inside
Whoa.
jokes that no one will understand. Okay. So tonight is the season opener of the Nodak Speedway, and I really don't have many t-shirts to support the drivers that race there locally or anything like that. So I did my best, and I found the old Too Strong IMCA Sport Mod Tour. I believe this was back in, gosh, is it 2019?
There was one
Ding,
year where
ding,
they
ding.
went like 10 to 12 different tracks, and I think
Yes.
2019 was the year.
I think it was 2019.
Yes.
And it started
And
out at the Dakota Speedway and it ended at the Jamestown Speedway, I believe. And so, yeah, no, but they did visit every track in North Dakota for the most part, not all the tracks, but they did visit Jamestown Speedway. It was on the schedule. They wrapped up at Botno, maybe.
Botno was the
That,
it was
that sounds
Botno.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is the Too Strong shirt from 2019, and I thought it was a really nice shirt. And they gave this out to all the drivers. Has the races on the back of the t-shirt, so just a overall really nice t-shirt. So I did my best to support the Nodak Speedway with their season opener tonight, and we could probably talk more about that later in the show. But yeah, definitely this is who I'm repping for tonight.
You should have asked me. I have like 6 or 7 Nodak shirts at least.
Maybe we can do a
Same.
swap.
Yeah. And you know what?
Just a swap.
What's really funny about this is that so the Format Tour, when it hit Jamestown, it actually on our last episode that we just did, not of the TTP, but of the controversial, non-controversial topics for their episodes, the CNC. On that last episode, we just highlighted Cheyenne Speedway late model special from August 18th of 2019. The night before that was when it hit Jamestown for the Too Strong tour was the night before that, and there was a chance of rain that whole entire day, and they got it in barely that night.
How do you
I think
remember this stuff?
It rained right after that sport mod feature, and then they had to pack it back in before the Midwest mods came out because they were going to run the sport mods last, but they actually pushed them up in the show because they knew weather was coming.
I actually remember sitting in the infield for the heat races, and yeah, the sky was not very pretty.
No, it was almost like a foggy / rainy a little bit too, and it was a weird night. I don't know how the whole night got in, but the whole night got in.
There's been several nights at Jamestown. I've wondered how they've gotten the whole night of racing in because sometimes it's very questionable on whether the race gets completed or not.
But when it rains in Jamestown, it usually rains, like it
downpours at times.
Oh, crazy how that works up there.
Which year was it that they had like 2 or 3 races where they get to about the start of the race program and it downpoured? What year was that?
2004 had like 10 rainouts that year. 2000 and I want to say it was 2010. Let me look here really quick. I think it might have been 10, or let's look here.
Because I remember there was one year, I want to say 16 or 17, that I was at Jamestown. It downpour just before 7 o'clock, and I beelined it down to Brown County because they were racing NOSA sprint cars that night and made it just in time for the features.
It looks like it was, yes, it was 2010. And that year was the year that they actually had to go through and they took a night in June to do a makeup night of just finishing features because they had so many weeks that had physically rained that I think they had to make up like 3 weeks. And they did it just on that night. They're like, we're just going to scrap a night and we have to do makeups to get these features in and get them done with. So yeah, there was a night like that, and weather that night was very questionable as well. So yes, it was overcast and quite cool that whole day.
Dang.
So yeah,
Crazy. So Jessup, how are the races?
They're good. I'm looking up something for Too Strong.
he's doing his research.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but I just can't find it right now.
Well, while he's doing his research, John Breckel, even though you've given us a couple of history lessons already, what are you repping for this episode?
Oh my goodness, it's gonna go down memory lane again. So you'll never guess what shirt I'm wearing.
We have to
Oh
guess the
my.
year though now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what year do you guys think
Are,
I'm
are,
wearing?
are
I
you
see
still
it?
going up? Are you still going up? Because last week
I
was
had to go up.
2007.
Yeah. Yep. I had to go up.
2010.
So Becca's close.
What did Becca say?
Becca said 10.
I'll go 11.
Yes, it is actually 2011 is the shirt I am wearing. It's the 40th annual Jamestown Stock Car Stampede t-shirt. And the reason why I had to go to the 40th was because I have already worn the 2009 and 2008, and I wanted to kind of save the 10 for a little bit later. So I had to go with the 11. So
Oh my.
this is the 40th annual Stock Car Stampede t-shirt that I am repping tonight. So the 2010 winners are on the back. And history lesson again for you guys. What happened in 2010 to the Stock Car Stampede that created a little bit of uniqueness for race fans?
It snowed.
I know who
No.
won.
What did I say? Did it run on Sunday?
No, but Mason, you're on the right path.
Oh, you had a provisional date.
So no.
Is that the year they raced at 2 in the afternoon?
Yes,
That
because
was, like, my
that wasn't the
favorite
year
year
that they
ever.
finished up the features at 2 in the afternoon. But they also started, actually that year I think they started, this year I think they started at noon. Because Friday night, it started raining right after the first set of 2 heat races for each class. And it poured all night. Jamestown got like an inch and a half to almost 2 inches of rain. And that was the year that they were also plagued by weather, was 2010. So they started the next day in the middle of the afternoon, finished up the rest of the heat races, and then took a break, did a little bit of track prep, came back for the consies, and then did more track prep, and then did features. So it was basically an all-day show at the racetrack.
Wow.
Was 2010 because they had a lot of cars that year too. They were in the 280 to 290 car range back in 2010 era, and that year was kind of a little bit unique because some of your winners that year, you guys are going to recognize some of these names for sure. Is your bomber champion was Lucas Rodin, who is now a national champion on the Midwest modified stage. You also had Travis Sauer, who was your Midwest modified champion that year. You had Jason Babcock, who was your Wissota street stock champion that year. Todd Carter was your super stock champion that year. You had Jeff Wildung, who was your late model champion that year. And your modified champion was Jason Grimes that year. So that was also the year that Jason was doing a lot of USMTS racing.
Oh,
So, yes, so a very interesting year at the Stampede that year.
John, was it 2017 or 18 that they raced at 2 o'clock in the
17.
afternoon? I like that actually.
2017,
I
to
like
where they
that.
did all the heats and all the consies on Friday night because Saturday the forecast was absolutely terrible as the night went on. So they decided we're starting early in the afternoon and we're going to try to get it done in a matter of like 4 hours. And when they finished with the last feature was, which I think they ran the IMCA modifieds last because they ran the late models like in the middle of the show. When they ran the IMCA modifieds last, I remember Dustin Strand won that year. And when he won that year, he took the checkered flag, came across, they interviewed him. We went out to the parking lot to get ready to leave because we left very shortly after that. And I remember we ran into somebody that we knew. We were talking to them for maybe the matter of maybe like 5-10 minutes, and it started downpouring. And I was like, they literally just finished before the rain hit.
But it also was like super early in the evening, so like you still got home at a really reasonable time. So
we
I
got
like
home
that.
8:30, 9 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range is when we got home.
I remember that year because I was there for the Friday night portion, but we had tickets to the Bison game on Saturday, so my dad and I were doing that, and I'm like, dang it, gonna miss the rest of the features.
Yeah,
which is
because you would have been there probably if it would have been features on normal time. You would have got there later, but
yeah, we were planning to do both of them on Saturday. Had it gone on and scheduled. I guess the one thing I think about with the 2010 Stampede, with it being like a lot of heats and concees and features in the same day, what was the concessions like? Because I'm sure they were popping all day.
Oh, they were packed. I think they were packed all day. So I remember if you go back, Cody Pappy's got pictures of the Stampede on his website of the 2010 Smart Car Stampede. He's got both the first day and the second day on there, and it's so funny to watch because you could see, based on like watching the images, you could see the progression of the track on how it started off. It was super, super, super tacky, and then it goes super dry slick. And then as the night went on, you could tell the moisture came back up and it got a little bit tackier again as the night finished. So that was very interesting to see. The street race, in my personal opinion, I think the street stocks put on one of the best shows that year, because of the fact of the matter that street stock feature, there was movers and shakers in that event. I remember like Babcock won, but you had Kelly Horner, I think, who started deep in the field and finished fourth. You had Jordan Zilmer, who started super deep in the field. I think he came through a Ponce or maybe towards the tail end of a heat race, getting in, and came up and finished like third or somewhere in that range. So yeah, there was a lot of movers and shakers that year. And then your front row, which you consider to be, probably some of your toughest competitors in Jamestown. I think it was Royce Jalowski and Kelly Hoggle. I think they barely stayed in the top 10. So it was a really interesting dynamic for a feature that year.
Dang. Yeah, I need to go back and find some old videos of some of these Stampedes. It'd be really fun to relive those. Well, which we've been doing that on a couple of our controversially non-controversial episodes. So maybe we'll do a Stampede night for one of those episodes. Cool.
2000 in the year of this shirt, the 2011 Stampede shirt, that was the first year they did the Calcutta. Calcutta was the first year in 2011.
Interesting.
So that year was kind of very unique.
Is the Calcutta coming back this year?
I have not heard. I will find out more information, I'm sure, in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Cool. Nice trip down memory lane once again, John. For my gear this week, I am repping just one driver, the 12S on the hat and on the shirt. Mr. Isaac Sandro, who hails out of Turtle Lake, North Dakota. Turtle Lake's home to a bunch of racers, and there's a couple of sponsors on the back. I can't remember exactly the year on this. I want to say it's somewhere around 2017 or 2018 is this shirt, but this is when he races Sport Mod. He now races an IMCA Modified, and he's been doing that the last couple of years. And Isaac is one of my really good friends. Always fun to connect with him and his family down in the pits, and so wanted to rep his gear this episode for a couple of reasons. One, it's episode 12, and breaking news, Isaac has joined us as a sponsor of the Track Packers podcast for 2023. So thank you so much to Isaac. Wants to go by Hot Sauce Enterprises, and so thank you so much, Isaac, for supporting us. People that know Isaac, his nickname they got over the last couple of years is Hot Sauce. I believe from Byron Fichter, I want to say.
I think so.
I have a question.
Yep.
So first of all, thank you, Isaac, for sponsoring us. That is so awesome to see you jump on board with us as well for the Track Packers podcast. And maybe Becca's actually going the same route right now. I think we might be thinking the exact same thing potentially. Since it's Hot Sauce Sandro, that's going to be, for Hot Sauce Enterprises. Does that mean that we get to try some of his snacks?
I was always welcome down at the snack shack, John.
Sample. I know, but sample testing on the Track Packers podcast.
Ooh, I think we should make him try a different hot sauce each night on tour this year.
Ooh. But his mom prepares the snacks ahead of time, so like she's got a menu prepped.
Yep.
So we got to let her know this information now, so she can start planning for the Dakota Mod Tour.
I would say if you want the dessert goodies, you go to Mama Sandro. Lana's her name, and then I believe Isaac mentioned to me that he had like his own hot sauce for wings because he's a big wing fan, and so
he is.
I think he's more on the spicier end. I want to say I'm a wimp when it comes to spicy stuff, so and I usually have dry rubs for wings if I do have them. So
black pepper is a spice.
Ranch.
Not even ranch.
That's almost too spicy.
It's not that it's spicy. I'm just not. This might get me some hate, but I'm not a big fan of ranch.
Okay, Mason, I am right there with you. I am not a fan of ranch either, so we're both
What
in
is
the same
wrong
boat
with
on
you
this.
two?
How do you call yourselves North Dakotans?
I
Yeah.
like French.
See, Mason, my heat levels that I go by, if it has black pepper on it, that's too much.
Whereas I have completed the Blazing Challenge at Buffalo Wild Wings before, and I love blazing wings. I love mango habanero. I love just hot. The hotter, the better.
Well,
Why
Isaac,
are we not surprised?
we have the official tester. If you want to test out some of your hot sauces, Miss Becca Pelkey is your gal.
So now that John is in the pits, he can go check out the Hot Sauce Snack Shack and enjoy some of Isaac Sandro's tasty treats down in the pits while we all continue on with the show.
You know, Mason.
So are we
Becca-
going together? Because you're also in the pits.
What? When?
Yes.
But you got voted in the pits before I did.
What?
You did
No.
receive a black flag that's
Why?
probably
Yeah,
getting
there
cut
was.
out.
Yeah, folks
There-
at home, there is some major carnage that fortunately we hid
It's
from the
taken a
cameras.
couple of us out.
We
Let's
got
put
to
it
set
this
it
way.
over Isaac's
Mason, there was
actually had to
snack
contact
shack.
and some
We had
black
to
flags
move the
under
camera.
caution.
Yep. But we had to
Oh.
move the camera away from the incident because it got a little heated.
Yes.
So
John,
we're-
let's go hit up the
We'll go hit
Sandro
up some
Snack
wings.
Shack. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, continue on.
I encourage you, if you are near Isaac Sandro in the pits, go and talk to him, his family. They're some of the most kindest people you can meet, most welcome people you'll talk to. Got great snacks. Definitely hit up Isaac Sandro in the Sandro Snack Shack. So thank you once again, Isaac, for supporting us on the Track Packers podcast this season. So we will move into our Track Packer report for this week, which might be a one-man show. But did anyone watch anything racing related on Friday night?
Yes. We
What did you
watched
watch? I did.
We watched everything racing related
That
Friday
was
night.
Saturday.
That was Saturday.
I watched
John
a lot
came over-
Friday night too.
Friday night, I watched the trucks from Darlington.
What did I do Friday night? Oh,
You took a nap.
no.
You guys
we-
went out for
we-
supper Friday night.
Friday night, the races were canceled here in Mandan because we had a 100% chance of rain, and it literally rained all day and night. So Jessup and I went out to eat with some good friends who moved near Lincoln. They're south of Bismarck, like near the University of Mary. So they came to Lincoln and had dinner with us, and we hit up the town, and then we're back home by 10 o'clock.
Dang.
Super wild, I know, right? And then Jessup watched racing and passed out on the couch watching wrestling after.
No, I didn't
Cool.
even get to wrestling. I only got racing in.
Oh, is that what I
racing.
turned off on the TV? Maybe that's what I turned off on the TV.
It's okay. If whatever, I don't remember. Becca turned it off, and I was like, "No, I'm not gonna fall asleep." And I knew I was gonna fall asleep.
5 minutes.
She's like,
later.
"You'll be asleep in 5 minutes." I'm like, "No, I won't." As I pulled my blanket up to my chin, I was like, "I will not fall asleep."
Passed out on the
As
couch,
soon as,
like I-
as soon as Becca walked out of the living room, I'm like, "Tee." And I passed out on the couch.
So he didn't technically watch racing. He slept through racing.
This
I'm a
makes sense.
silly goose.
I
He
can't
was
say I'm
dreaming
shocked.
about the races. Me neither.
Can't say I'm shocked.
I mean,
Yeah.
if we can have a contest between the four of us and who could fall asleep fastest, it's
Oh.
definitely Jessup.
Oh,
Jessup.
me.
He would win that in a long shot.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
racing.
Because the rest of us, we're pretty much night owls. So
Yeah.
time.
Well, but
Yeah,
to be
big time.
fair, I
He,
wake up
he is the
super
elder
early.
of the group.
I am. You all must show me respect, for I have wisdom in my hair.
No.
This is why his hair's receding because the wisdom is gone.
You know, they told me down on the reservation that if you have gray, it's not gray hair, it's just wisdom. So I have a lot of wisdom from making sure you guys stay within the appropriate lines of PG.
They lied to you.
So John has no wisdom because he has no hair, right?
No, John is very wise.
I'm masterful. Mhm.
Where did this even go last minute?
You
Anyways,
asked us if we watched racing on Friday. Technically,
Right.
Jessup tried but fell asleep, so we did not watch any racing on Friday. Mason, you went to a racetrack on Friday night. What did you see?
well,
It's all you,
Friday was-
Mason.
Friday was interesting because like like I said earlier, I didn't post a schedule just because the weather was so hit or miss and the forecast was uncertain, especially around my area. And so basically it was a waiting game of like, which tracks are open. So I think Grand Forks had canceled Thursday. Obviously Red River had canceled earlier in the week. I-94 was kind of where I was looking at, but then they canceled. And so the only one that was left within reasonable distance was Montevideo, Fiesta Ciy Speedway. And so they actually were getting some rain late morning and in through the afternoon up until 4, almost 5 o'clock, but they were still working the track, getting it packed in. And so I kind of waited until about 3:30, 3:45 before I left town and headed down there. And so drove through some rain on the way to the track and got within about 10 minutes, and then it finally cleared up. And so if you recall, 3 of us, myself, Becca, and Jessup, went down to Florida a couple months ago to Volusia, and we watched the World of All Out late models there. And the first night we were there, it drizzled or heavily rained, according to the social media platforms down there. And we had made the comment that had this been in the upper Midwest, we would have still been racing, and they would have been packing track or something. Well, it was drizzling most of the night down in Montevideo, and they were racing through the entirety of it. They didn't have any stoppage at all. It was quite interesting. And there wasn't really any slimy parts of the track. Like, it was packed in that they were able to race at full speed. It was obviously very tacky all night, but overall, really good job by the Fiesta Ciy Speedway crew. Like, they were really doubtful on whether they would get the show in, but I think when they saw that like every track was canceling, they figured they'd get a few more cars to show up than they normally would, and so ended up getting a relatively respectable field of cars in all their classes. And so overall, I thought it was a really good show. It was really nice to go down there, even though it's a long drive. But I'll go over the results here real quick for all the classes. They had 7 car classes. Starting off in the pure stocks, we have Ian Jaden, who got the win in the pure stocks. Passed with a couple laps to go for the win there. First career win for Matt Everts in the Midwest Modifieds out of Burnsville. Really great race with the front 6. They were in a 6-pack for a couple laps, and then Matt kind of drove off from the rest of the field and took the win there. So congratulations to Matt on his first win, at least at Fiesta Ciy. Street stocks went down to a last restart pass by Braden Brower over Mike Jans. And so Braden Brower, who's already put on the miles this year, got himself a good win down at Fiesta Ciy. Super stocks went to Trevor Nelson, which that was his 100th career feature win. So big congrats to Trevor Nelson. He finished in front of Shane Zabrowski, who's always tough to beat. Late models went to Jordan Tollickson, who's now 2 for 2 down at Fiesta Ciy to start up 2023. Modifieds went to Shane Zabrowski with a late race pass on Brandon Kopp in the 22. And Hornets, which I think was the race of the night, 4 or 5 cars all grouped together coming down the last laps. Alex Aderman holding off the entire crowd to get the Hornet win. And so very good night down at Fiesta Ciy. Moved through the program pretty swiftly, even with like the drizzling weather and all the chaos happening all around weather-wise. It was a good night at Fiesta Ciy. So kudos to the track prep crew and everyone involved for a nice show there. So then moving on to Saturday. Saturday was pretty much kind of the same story. Everywhere was canceling. I think you guys were sitting in a vortex of rain for like 2 days straight. So pretty much anything, at least west of Fargo, was wiped out. And so that pretty much made decisions easy as far as racing goes. The only option in our state was Devil's Lake Speedway. And I know you all got to watch that from home. And so what were your takeaways from watching the Devil's Lake season opener?
So it was literally the only track in North Dakota racing on Saturday. And I was really shocked and surprised there weren't more cars there. They did get quite a few cars. I'm just kind of surprised that there weren't more travelers that came to support their season opener. But yeah, they did have a good track. They had great racing. We watched the late models. We had that late model race that we watched last night at Devil's Lake was what triggered the conversation about the late model race at the Cheyenne Speedway, which is what we rewatched on our CNC. So if you want to go check that out, you can do so through Mason's Patreon page. But that late model race last night at Devil's Lake was fantastic, great racing, and I'm just disappointed that there weren't more cars at Devil's Lake, considering there was nowhere else to race on a Saturday night in North Dakota, and that was our season opener. So just interesting is all.
I wonder if part of that too was the weather. Like if you looked at the radar, it was kind of uncertain.
All over.
Yeah,
it felt like.
Yeah,
So
it didn't rain the entire time you were there, right, Mason?
No, and even
Yeah.
like the area around the track was dry. Like it was dusty in the pits. Like unless they
so they never
Oh.
watered it,
had
it
a
was
whole lot of
dusty.
rain
Oh
the whole
wow.
the whole weekend, which they must have got missed by quite a bit because I mean, you go south of that just by a little bit, and I think Carrington and Jamestown, I think they got hit hard. I think the last 2 days on top of that with the amount of rain they received. I think they received daily rain records even for
Oh
Friday
wow.
and potentially Saturday.
Yeah. Jessup, what were your takeaways from Devil's Lake last night?
The street stock feature was really good. I thought that was a
Finish was
great.
really good.
Yeah, I thought that was a great feature for the fans who were in attendance and for the ones who were watching online. So that was pretty good. I felt I'm not sure where their scoring loop is, but I felt that Tucker Peterson had the win, but the scoring loop says otherwise, and that's okay. That's why we go by that instead of what the fans at home think, because it's an official timing and scoring. So that's what we want, and that's what we get. So
We questioned it because we were also following the results on my race pass, and the results on my race pass, live timing and scoring, were also kind of strange. So
strange
we
is a
were
good word.
yeah, it was just strange. I don't know how to explain it because it didn't make sense technically because only the winner had 20 laps, everyone else was technically a lap down. So that was kind of weird, but great finish though. I mean, I bet that was people on their feet at the finish, but it was just weird as all. We questioned the finish, but obviously we know who won. So
The go ahead, Jamason. I'll hit a few other points.
I was gonna say when I replayed it back on my camera today just to see the finish, and unless I know exactly where the loop is, if you go by the flag stand from my vantage point where I was, I couldn't tell. It was that close from my vantage point. And I
Ooh.
was kind of on the north, kind of on the turn 4 side of the flag stand, so I was kind of a little bit at an angle, so it might be a little bit different based on the scoring loop.
The other aspects that I guess I really took away from the night were, as Becca mentioned, not the largest of car counts, but I think the night overall, if you look at it, it was a quality versus quantity type of night. Just looking at the street stocks here, you got Seth, Tucker, Kyle, Braden, Trey, Casey, Cole, and Greg and Stoney, and that's 9 good guys out of 12 cars. So, and I'm not saying the other 3 aren't good. It's just 9 recognizable Wissota names. And then you go down to where did it go? Let's see, Midwest Mods here. You had Austin, Jory, Lucas, Eric, Jamie, Ryan. That's 6 out of the 10 that could win at just about any track or be in the top 5 at any track on any night. And that you start looking at the quality there. I mean, that's really good quality. Late model, same deal. I'm kind of a little surprised with some of the turnout there. I thought they could have gotten a better turnout from the NLRA, just from what I'm used to in the past. But things change. I don't know. But again, great late model feature. There's fun watching Gresseth and Strand battle it out, and then watching TPO drive through the field was fun to watch. And again, another really strong field of drivers there as well. Then you look at the Western Renegades. Sobolik just put a beat down on them, and it looked like, from where the finish was, it looked like a half-track lead from him in second, and that's after he probably
At
let off
least.
going into 1 after the
Yep.
checkered. So that was a bit of a head scratcher for me, but because I think the parodies should be pretty good with that class. But overall, I mean, can't take anything away from him. He's a talented driver. He's got good equipment, and you put talent and good equipment together, probably going to have good results. So good on him. And I had one question, because again, you guys know I'm not from the areas, and I just recognize some names. Looking up in the pure stock division, Mason and John,
Yep.
Jaden Mack. That's not from the legendary Mack family, is it?
I don't believe so. So it says he's from Church's Ferry. I don't believe, because the Mack family is mainly out of Grand Forks.
Where's
Yeah.
Church's Ferry?
If you go west of Devil's Lake, about 15, 20 miles, I want to say.
Okay.
That's
So
it's
it's
pretty
more
close to
towards
Devil's
Minot.
Lake.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I
No,
don't
he's
know
not
these
related.
things, and I just saw that name. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
To my knowledge, he's
But-
not directly related.
But if there's anyone that's listening or watching and know the answer, drop the answer in the comments below.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. All good takeaways. I'll kind of touching on the pure stocks too. Even though there was 4 cars there, it was actually a pretty heated battle. That's like the top 3 was pretty close for the majority of that race, and then there's a little bit of bumping and banging, and so that actually got the crowd kind of riled up in victory lane for the winner. And so that was interesting to see to start the feature race action. But kind of creates some buzz around the racing, and so that's what we want to see at the racetrack. And so that kicked off all the really good features. I mean, the track was fast. I mean, it was hammer down pretty much the entire night. And I figured once we got to the late models, it would be a pretty intense to watch some dice through lap traffic and relatively clean night. I know we had one street stock driver that rolled over in the heat race, but he came back out for the feature, so that was good to see as well. Sean, you want to go over the results, or if you had an additional takeaway, go ahead.
No, I'll go through my quick takeaways too. So overall, pretty good night. I felt like the racing itself was pretty good. Especially for an opening night across the board at any track. The track held up really well. It was a little bit rutted maybe here or there for the late models when they came out, but of course with the amount of horsepower and everything else, it was going to do that for sure. But besides that, I mean, track wise was pretty racy from a physical perspective the whole entire night from what we were watching online. I mean, they were definitely hammered down where everything was great from a race perspective. They were right on the berm of the racetrack too. We saw that in the Midwest Mods when it was Austin Hunter versus Jory Berg, where Austin kind of did just a slight slider on Jory, but Jory got right up to that berm on the high side too, and Austin ended up picking the win up within the Midwest Mod division. But
Just a
yeah,
little
it was kind of
quick
interesting.
Just a little quick
Yeah, go
story on
ahead.
that. Jory was kind of kicking himself for that because he's like, yeah, I stepped on my you-know-what in that corner.
Yeah, you could just tell he got a little push and all of a sudden he was like right on that edge and I was like, yeah, he's gonna go over pretty quick.
Yep.
From that piece of it too. I mean, good to see too that when Rodney rolled within the street stock that it didn't do too much damage and he was able to come right out as well. So I mean that part was pretty good to see too. A rookie driver again in that division for the Wissota street stocks. But like Jessup said, I would agree with him. The amount of drivers that were there from a quality standpoint was really good too. I mean, you had a lot of really good street stock drivers in attendance, Midwest mod drivers in attendance, late model drivers in attendance. I mean, obviously you had a really good field for like quality wise within the Western Renegade, so that was really good to see too. So yeah, so I think it was a lot of fun to watch from that perspective. But no, I mean, congratulations to the winners. Like Jessup had mentioned, Adam Soblik won the wingless sprint cars. You had Armstrong in the pure stock division. In your Midwest mod division, you had Austin Hunter over Jory Berg and Lucas Rodin. In your late model division, which was one of the races of the night, I want to say true. I mean, Brody Truffgruben was on a tear last year. Looks like he's picked up where he left off last year from because he had a really good night last night. Looks really strong. Kudos as well to Tyler Peterson from coming from the back up to that 4th place finishing position. And what a battle between Dustin Strand and Mike Gressett. Those two were going back and forth. So in the battle for 2nd and 3rd. And then also have to give kudos out there to Steve Anderson. I know Steve had some small health things I want to say at the end of last year that had happened with him as well within the race car community, and he was back this year in a fresh paint scheme and looked really good out there last night too for several laps in that feature event. He was holding off Brody and leading that feature. So so kudos to Steve out there. Ryan Corbett has got probably, in my personal opinion, based on looking at cars, I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later on, but really nice paint scheme in that C4 machine. That was really really nice when we looked at it too. From that perspective. And then in your streets, I mean, what can you say about that battle for the win between Seth and Tucker and Kyle Anderson was right there. So, I mean, congratulations to Seth for taking home that first feature win of the 2023 season up there in Devil's Lake. So, I kind of agreed with Becca and Jessup and you, Mason, as well. I thought there would be a little bit more from a car count perspective, but still pretty good from a quality of field perspective.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Good takeaways. Fun that you guys got to experience it watching at home. Oh, Jess, we got one more thing.
We're talking about people in attendance. The last question I had for those who are in attendance or were watching was the mystery van back at the track.
Mason,
No,
you
I
were
asked
there.
Heather about this a couple weeks ago when she was on the Grand Forks Best Source podcast. Apparently, they were making fun of him so much that I think now I don't know if he's a regular attender now, but during that season, he started attending the races as a fan in the stands.
Oh, so now he's in the stands. That makes sense now.
Well, that's good, but
That's really good. Hey, we got another race fan into the grandstands. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was a fun story to follow.
It was.
All it took was some severe harassment.
You know,
if it makes a race fan, I mean, we don't encourage harassment, but we encourage race fans to come through the gates. I mean, we made heckle you.
Come another facility, experiencing it from the physical people in the grandstands. You got people to talk to. You might have even some people that have differing of opinions as well, which kind of makes it kind of fun sometimes. At that stuff, and then obviously just the atmosphere as a whole. So Mason, I would say last night overall from Devil's Lake, it was a growling good time.
Yes, I agree.
John
it was a good time.
Breckle.
It was a good time in Devil's Lake, and yeah, so that was the second race to get completed in the state of North Dakota. So far, now that Nodak's completed their race night, Dakota Speedway, Devil's Lake, and Nodak have completed races in North Dakota. So 3 in 2023. But as far as North Dakota racing goes, what's coming up this upcoming weekend, Mr. Dakota Dirt?
Oh my goodness! Before Jessup goes through it, so again, race fans, if you want a one-stop shop for everything North Dakota racing news, results, recaps, schedules, weather forecasts, and some very interesting news articles, you have to check out Dakota Dirt. It is your one-stop shop for everything North Dakota racing news. And if you want to check them out, they are on social media platforms. So be sure to check them out on Facebook and their website at dakotadirt.org. So again, head on over to Dakota Dirt, your one-stop shop, which has taken reins over racing news in North Dakota.
And speaking of rains, John, the weather for next weekend, according to dakotadirt.org, looks beautiful. I think you're going to see a lot of racetracks having their season opener next weekend. So check that out. Again, weather reports and everything at dakotadirt.org.
Thank you, you guys. You're too kind. But as they said, there's a lot going on in the state next week. Let's just start with the test and tunes. May 16th, that should be, I believe it's Tuesday, is going to be River City's Test and Tune. The 20th is Jamestown's Test and Tune. And the 21st, it looked like Cheyenne was going to have one as well on the Sunday. Don't ask me, Mason. I'm just going off of what my race pass is saying.
Gotcha.
And I'm also going off of the schedule from my race pass as well as my calendar too. So how many of these races may have been rescheduled? I don't know, but this is what we have going forth. The 18th, Cheyenne looks to kick the season off. They haven't said no yet, so that's a promising sight. And they are going to be hosting the Red River Sprint Car Series that night as well. So it should be a big night, Thursday night, for racing over on the eastern side of the state. And what should be exciting about this is that it's going to be the first race on the eastern side of the state if you don't consider Devil's Lake East. So that's pretty exciting. They finally might get a bit of racing, so that's cool. The 19th, everything starts to heat up. It's Dakota Speedway, Estevan Motor Speedway, Red River Speedway, and River Cities, with Red River and River Cities both kicking off their opening nights. In Estevan, it should be the beginning of their doubleheader weekend with double purses. So that's going to be a very big night. And Dakota Speedway should also have a pretty big night as well. Moving on to Saturday, night number 2 of the Esteban double header. Again, double payouts in the purses. So double the purse payout is what they have promoted. So that should be exciting. I think you'll see a good number of cars going north of the border. And that's kind of a neat little promotion that they're doing up there. So they're doing some cool stuff up north of the border. And then you have the Southwest Speedway. Again, this is what they have scheduled. And Becca is correcting me here. Double pay is only on Saturday. Thank you, Becca.
And I think
And you have to race on Friday
yes.
to be eligible for the double pay on Saturday.
Oh, that's cool still.
Mhm. I
like it. That's neat. Southwest Speedway out in Dickinson looks to kick their season off. All IMCA classes. So that should be exciting for them, along with the NX Legends as well. And there's a very healthy field of NX Legends to go around for everybody that night. Devil's Lake continues the racing season along with the opening night that is scheduled for Thunder Mountain. And the weekend rounds off with the Nodak Speedway. That's
Sounds
what
like
next
a
week.
busy weekend. Hopefully a busy weekend.
Again, weather according to DakotaDirt.org looks beautiful. So everyone should be racing next weekend.
But I don't know
It
if
would be exciting.
all the drivers are ready, because there's still a lot of drivers that are just like they're either waiting. A lot of them are waiting on car parts or like out in the field farming, because there's a lot of
Exactly.
farmers now.
Yes,
Yeah.
and because of the late winter that we had here in the North Dakota area, things are super wet in the fields. This is like the latest most farmers have ever got their start of farming, like for many of them. So super late season for farming. And I think that could potentially impact a lot of racetracks on their car counts, because let's be real, a lot of race car drivers are farmers. So if there's a nice day for farming, they're probably going to skip the racetrack. Hopefully they'll be back later this summer though.
Yep. So hopefully a busy weekend in North Dakota, and hopefully going to be starting racing outside the state as well, because there's only been a handful of races taking place in Minnesota. South Dakota hasn't really kicked off a race unless you go to like Black Hills. I think it's gotten a race in. But I believe on my schedule right now, Victory Lane Speedway up in Winnipeg is scheduled to open on Thursday. So I don't know. They typically have flooding problems up there, but I think they're in a better position than last year, which is helpful.
Yeah, last year was not good for them with how much water they had up there. I mean, it was nasty there for a while.
Yeah. So hopefully they're able to kick off their season on Thursday. Friday, it looks like Brown County is scheduled to open up. They had a test and tune this last weekend, which I think they only got a few runs in on Friday before rain wiped them out. Fiesta City's continuing their season, as well as the I-94 EMR Speedway, which that is a Wissota Challenge Series race taking place this week. So that should bring in a very stout field of late models. And so encourage fans over there, if you're a late model fan, that would be one place to check out this weekend. Saturday, right now, it is Miller Central Speedway down in South Dakota, along with in Minnesota. Ogilvy hopefully kicking their season off. Brainerd got a race in, and Viking Speedway is going to open up their season as well. And then Sunday, Buffalo River over in Glendon opening up. Casino Speedway down in South Dakota will hopefully have their opener, and then Granite City Motor Park will kick off their second race of the season. And so there is now plenty of racing hopefully going to be happening with decent weather and conducive weather for track working. And so hopefully we got a break from Mother Nature for at least this week before we get into a lot of big races coming up for Memorial Day weekend, because I know a lot of drivers want to get a race or two in before Memorial Day weekend, because that's a big weekend coming up.
Yeah, there's a lot of racing action that can go on that weekend. I think drivers have the option of even running, if they want to, even 5 nights that weekend, because it can start on Thursday and they can run through Monday. So yes, there's a lot of racing action going to happen that weekend, and several things going to be going on during Memorial Day weekend too. So Mesa, before we do that, should we give a Sunday night recap, since we're a little bit before 10 o'clock here, and a lot of the tracks have at least got close to finishing, if not finished. So I know you guys were watching Nodak a little bit, and Jessup, you've been watching Granite City. So if you guys want to take it away kind of with the results from there, or just kind of highlights.
Yeah, Becky, you want to take Nodak?
Sure. Yeah, let me pull those up real quick because we moved on, so I can definitely pull those up real quick. Let's see. Their season opener, they had 86 cars check in, which is by far a huge increase than their average car counts in the past. So that was really good for them here tonight. They've made a whole lot of changes over the offseason leading into their season opener. They've added new dirt, they've reshaped the track, they've moved their tech area so it can be in front of the race fans. They got some new leadership, not to say that Brendan Beater was a bad leader. He was a fantastic leader, just he decided to take some time away. So now we have new leadership at the Nodak Speedway, which is why you see a lot of these changes here. And they've upped the payouts overall. So I think this has led to more car counts for the Nodak Speedway, and I think it has showed here on night number 1 for them. And your winners were in the IMCA Hobby Stocks. You had Caden Alpelt. He edged out Andrew Birch at the finish line, so congratulations to Caden Alpelt. You had
It's also his birthday today, by the way.
Oh,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
So then we had Gabe Deshaw.
Waiting on your birthday.
Yes. And we had Gabe Deshaw pick up the feature victory in the IMCA Sport Mods. This is actually his second win of the season. He picked up his first up at the Estevan Motor Speedway the week before. So 2 wins right off the bat for him in the IMCA Sport Mod. So he's off to a very hot start to this year. In the IMCA Stock Cars, you had Will Shareski. He picked up the win over Adam Goff. That was a really good feature event. And then in the IMCA Sport Compacts, you had Chris Yost. He also, that's his second win for him this year. He picked up his first win of the season down at the Dakota Speedway, and he edged out Alex Thompson for the win here tonight at the Nodak Speedway. And then in your IMCA Modifieds, it was Travis Hagen, the dark horse, picking up the victory over Wayne Johnson and Jason Walla. So great racing all around at the Nodak Speedway. Track looked great. For the most part, it was pretty smooth for them. A little drier side for them. I think they typically like that really wet, moist, tacky track, but it was pretty dry slick for them tonight. And I think it produced some fantastic racing. Had a lot of race cars. Fans, the stands looked packed. So overall, I think this was a very successful season opener for the Nodak Speedway. And congrats to all of our feature winners.
Yeah, hats off to the Nodak crew because they had a lot of rain too the last couple of days, and I was like when I was talking to my mom today for Mother's Day, she was actually surprised that they were able to work that track in. So,
especially with over 4 inches of rain I've heard in the last couple of days. I mean, they had a ton of rain, so good for them to be able to get that track worked. And I know it was definitely there were still some ruts. I saw some highlight stuff, and there was definitely still on that too. But great job to the crew because it could have been, with the way the amount of moisture in that track underneath is, it could have been probably something that could have been really, really, really bad. So they did a really good job getting that track worked in and providing a great show for racing action tonight.
Yep, absolutely. Good job to all involved. Jess, if you want to give us an update on Granite City, where they're at right now?
Well, currently, Mason, the Vintage Race Car Club is out on the track right now. It is the Vintage Stock Cars, and I am baffled by the fact that they are out there right now. This actually might be normal for them, for considering what the tracks used to be. Anyways, it has been an interesting night watching them, and I'm not saying anything bad because it's tough to get new. Oh my God, they made contact! I have never seen vintage cars hit each other.
Well, they have become now a little bit more vintage.
Oh my, this guy is flying. This has got to be one of the greatest things I've ever seen, Mason. He literally, the rear end, it almost looks like a 57 Chevy. It probably isn't. They just threw the checker flag for him. He bounced it off of the former leader. At one point going down the back stretch, the nose was pointed towards the infield with the back end flying out to the outer edge. And then when it landed, the nose just yanked all the way back to the wall. Wow, that was wild. I was not expecting that. Wow. Anyways,
So
It's
again,
been
he's
a-
watching
it's-
racing during our podcast.
I am doing insider research.
Insider
Becca.
research is what we're calling
Becca,
it.
didn't you say that twice? Well, we
Yes,
didn't
I
hear you the
did.
first time.
I
I was
don't.
on
Oh.
mute.
Oh.
I muted
Anyways,
myself.
Wanted to make
Mason.
sure.
Oh my God, that was awesome.
They had a great car count though, Jessup. They had 90
They've
cars.
had a good they have a good car count, especially for a Sunday night track. The same can be said for Nodak Speedway tonight. Probably one of the more entertaining things I've seen tonight was Ryan Gerke winning the Soda Modifieds, and it looked they had to tow him back to the winner's circle or victory lane, as it looked like he ripped the left rear off. I don't know if the tire just went flying, but they had to tow him back, and that is my winner of the week. Goes to Ryan Gerke for just literally letting it all hang out on a track that was eating cars up. And honestly, any driver that went out there to support the show, I'm going to say you guys are winners of the weeks, because that's pretty awesome that you guys went out there. I know it's pretty tempting to just start and park and get your points and get your pay for the night, especially on a rough track. Oh my goodness, they're pulling out vintage modifieds now. This could be wild.
Oh my God. Continue.
Anyways, Caden Woody won the Wasota Street Stocks in a very pretty stout field, and Jake Smith got the win. It looked like Jake Smith got the win in the Wasota Midwest Mods, and currently, I think it was Tyler Larson won the Mod 4 so far. So it's been I will say it's been a very entertaining watch tonight, and with the fact that they have vintage cars out here now, I mean, I will say these guys are being a lot smarter on this track than the guy who won the last race. Oh my God, that was awesome. But
great.
it's been a I give Granite City a lot of props for trying. They've tried the last 3 years to get something to work. They had extreme dust on one at one end. I think it was like the first year they had extreme dust, and then last year was a rough track, so they put new dirt or clay down, and then this year they had more dirt and clay put back down. And I don't know anything about track prep. All I know is at Dakota Speedway they put a lot of time in each week with the sheep's foot, working it in, packing it in, and I gotta assume it's gonna take a while to get this figured out, or they're gonna have to scrape it all. And I think if they want to stay with it, oh my God, that was wild. All four wheels came off the ground for that vintage mod.
This from our inside researcher, Jessup Pelkey.
That was awesome.
Is that what we're calling it? Okay.
I think that guy's pants are now brown.
Well, we appreciate the check-in from Granite City. You keep tabs on any other happenings that may happen for the remainder of this podcast.
Did anyone else win at Granite City?
We're not done. We're still going, Becca.
Yes, I think they still have super stocks.
And sport compacts, or not sport compacts, but Hornets.
And Hornets.
And Hornets, or short trackers, or sport compacts, or Thunder 4s, or as the XR group calls them, bang bangers.
Bang bangers.
Anyways.
So while our inside researcher keeps tabs on Granite City, we will actually go into kind of our closing segments. We'll kind of go into latest and greatest paint schemes. We might be running a little long on the episode, but give me two latest and greatest paint schemes now that a couple of tracks have opened up that have really stuck out to you guys.
Ladies first, Becca.
First?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So I will
Never heard of them.
Yeah, sure. Okay, first one. Okay, fine. I asked if you guys were going to bring this up, but I will bring it up. Justin Vogel had his paint scheme revealed over the weekend, and it looked really, really nice. Looked familiar to me, as I felt it looked very similar to Jake Nelson's paint scheme from last year. He drives an IMCA stock car, or he did last year anyways. And still two really good paint schemes. I still really, really like Justin Vogel's 2023 paint scheme. I think it looks really nice. I'm kind of surprised Mason wouldn't try to steal that one from me or not. But I would love to see a similarity photo between the two cars. I think it'd be interesting to see how similar they might be. Maybe my memory is not as sharp, and I just think they look similar. But Justin Vogel's paint scheme this weekend, his reveal was just fantastic. I loved it. I also really like, in a completely different shift of things. So yeah, I was watching the Nodak Speedway season opener, and I really liked the IMCA Sport Compact of Tiffany Tusher. I thought that car looked really nice. It had a nice blue swirly, kind of looked like a ribbon. So at first I thought it was kind of like a cancer awareness deal, but I think it just, the straight up paint scheme had a really nice blue swirl on the side. Then it had like purple at the top. Just looked really nice for an IMCA Sports Compact, and she did pretty well for her first time out there this year. And yeah, those are my two paint schemes of the week.
Very good. I have to check out Tiffany's paint schemes. I haven't seen that one quite yet. Actually, I just popped up a picture. It does look pretty cool.
Yeah, it does.
Jessup, you got a couple?
I do have a couple. Let's see. The first one I really liked last night was the C4 of Ryan Corbett. That looks really cool for him. You don't see that, I haven't seen that style in our area, so that was pretty neat. The second one I really like was Kent Arment's late model. This is just a cool, something different for him. And again, it's a different look for our area. So I really like that as well. And I have two others, if that's okay.
Okay.
I usually have to like search for good cars. So
I'm proud of you, so go ahead.
He came prepared.
I will say I like Drew Christensen's car this year. His hot pink modified. It sticks out. I just think you can't miss it. So if you have a sponsorship on there, I think you're definitely going to get noticed. And it's unique. You don't see a lot of hot pink, almost completely hot pink modifieds anywhere. So that's pretty cool. And the last one, let me see if I can pull up his name here. Right here. The 7L of Tyler Larson's Mod 4 is pretty cool. It's white and it's got kind of like a Spectra swirl flame deal going on with it. And it was just in Victory Lane tonight at the Granite City Motor Park. So it looks really cool. I liked it. So those are my big four for the week.
All solid ones, and I like how they're all like basically from different areas. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good job. All right, John, I'll let you go next because I want to see if you take any of the three that are on my list.
Okay, well, I'll start us off then. I'll take two. I'll just do two, just to, kind of do a little bit of time saving here as well. So one of them that I really like, that I saw here this past week, in a picture was Adam Brotherton's brand new paint scheme on his Wasota Midwest Modified. I think that is very sharp again this year, the way he's got the silver number and he's got the orange mix in there with the yellow and black and with the orange and black. So I think that's really, really, really a cool paint scheme this year. The other one that I really like on the same token with the same front is Brian Hobbins' paint scheme this year is really cool again with his 6-star Wasota Modified. Really like how that blue matches in with the orange on there. A little bit different from, because he usually doesn't have orange in his paint scheme. Usually it's blue, it's red, white, and blue, or some kind of combination of theirs. So that orange is kind of neat in there a little bit this year. It kind of gives it a little bit of a pop of color on there too. So those are the two that I saw that I do like. I do have others, but Mason, I'm gonna let you go, and maybe we'll come back.
Well, you didn't take any off the list from me, so that's very nice of you. And so I will kind of go off of Becca with Jake Nelson. So Jake Nelson recently revealed his latest IMCA modified paint scheme, and it is sharp. A lot of pink. He kind of does like a pink think there's a little purple in it, obviously white, and so nice mix of colors that really combine well. And so Jake Nelson always has some pretty cool looking cars, and now that he's in IMCA modified for his rookie year, it's gonna be fun to see that one on the track. The other one I had on here and was going to see him this last weekend, but hopefully we'll see him on the track this weekend, is Sean Olson in the number 32, his Minnesota Midwest mod from Alexandria. He's got a really different looking paint scheme, orange, blue, black mixed together. That's another paint scheme that was done by Jacob Kane at Kane Designs. Just been putting out some really great wraps. And so Sean Olson's car looks really cool this year as well. And John, I can't remember. The other one I had on my list was Haley Lee. Did you mention Haley Lee's scheme yet?
Nope.
She always has some pretty good schemes, and that one was done by Winning Edge. And yeah, she has some, it's a red, white, black, and blue scheme. She's kind of had some bad luck the last year, and even start to this year's have some rough luck this year, but she's got a really fast car. So hopefully some good runs are in her future. So those are the three that stood out to me for paint schemes.
Yeah, the other couple that I have on my list here, kind of like what Jessup had, was Corey Stork released his design here at Fiesta City. And he went blue this year, and it looks really nice. So Corey always has some really nice paint schemes, but that blue really pops too. So as you noticed with me, it's kind of a blue theme a little bit tonight too, blue and orange, or kind of a little bit of my themes. The other one though that I really like too, and maybe we've already said it before, but maybe I don't remember directly on this one too, is Brody Karlsruhe. His IMCA stock car is popping this year. I mean, that thing looks really sharp. So when that gets on the track here, hopefully next weekend over in Fargo at the Red River Valley Speedway.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of these cars have not seen any track time, like for test and tune or racing. And so this weekend's going to be the first time we see a lot of these cars on the track for the very first time. So be exciting to see these paint schemes hopefully up close. So as we wait to display the white flag, Jessup already had one win of the week, but does anyone else have any wins of the week that they want to highlight for episode 12?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I already mentioned how impressed I was with Nodak Speedway. Kind of mentioned how impressed I was with Gabriel Deshaw. He already has 2 wins on the season. My first win of the week will go to Robert Hellebust. He suffered he was in a rollover a couple of years back up at the Nodak Speedway and suffered a really bad neck injury. And he, last I heard, so I spoke with him last summer over at the Southwest Speedway, he had no intentions of racing ever again. And then with the new leadership of Brendan Beater stepping down, and then Justin Medler, Smalls Medler, stepping up to be president at the Nodak Speedway, he's just very hands-on as president. So his race cars are sitting empty. So one of his race cars is now being driven by Robert Hellebust, and he decided to come back and race in the IMCA Modifieds. Although the finishing results don't reflect it well, I'm just impressed that even though he did suffer a really bad neck injury from that rollover many years ago, that he came back to race is just really impressive. So yeah, he didn't do so well in his heat race, and I don't believe he started his feature event. I'm just impressed that he even decided to come back and race. And so kudos to Robert Hellebust, the hot rod of the 9H. So kudos to him. And then my other win of the week goes to Tim Estenson, local driver from Fargo, North Dakota. He's been racing a lot of sprint car races lately. He won his second feature victory this year. He won the week before over at the Double X Speedway, and then he won last night at the Off-Road Speedway. So congratulations to Tim Estenson. He's been doing pretty darn well on those sprint cars.
Yeah, and I think both of those were Malvern 360 sprints wins.
Yes.
Yep. So good job to Tim Estenson. Yeah. Fun to see that over the last couple weeks. Who else has got a win or two?
So I've got a couple. I have to give a win of the week out to Tucker Peterson as well. So Tucker went tail-end last night during the street stock feature and worked his way almost back up to a feature win and finished in second last night over at Devil's Lake. So Tucker looks like he's going to be hooked up this year and going to be a tough competitor this year after having bad luck last weekend over at I-94 Speedway with a couple of issues over there in his 27P street stock. So good job to him too. The other wins of the week that I want to give, and it's going to be more kind of a broad statement. I don't like to do it pretty much broad, but I'm going to do it anyhow broad. We watched a little bit last night from Rice Lake. And we also watched a little bit, I watched a little bit from Red Cedar on Friday night. Since both of those two tracks have started their season, unfortunately, Rice Lake, they had a great car count. I mean, they had 131 cars there last night and ended up to weather, unfortunately. So they're going to make up that the rest of their feature events here at a future date. But I have to give a kudos out there to the rookies in the Wissota Modified division, several of them, because they have come out this season and they're going to be tough. You would look at somebody like Kennedy Swan, and she started up front at Red Cedar and she finished still kind of mid-packish somewhere in that range. Ran pretty well in her heat race, but you look at her, she's going to be strong as the season comes across and continues on. You have Brady Oakman that was the same way. He looked very good last night over at Rice Lake, and he's going to be tough as the season continues on within there too. And then there's just a handful of drivers within that division that are like Brandon. Merriworth is going to be tough as the season rolls on. And I have a feeling this year's modified competition is going to be very interesting as we roll into the later months of the summer and how the rookies are basically getting their names known more from what they were in the Wissota Midwest Mod Division to now to what they are known in the Wissota Mod Division. So I have to give kudos out to them. Same thing even up here with several of the rookie drivers that are in the IMC Modified Division too. I think as the summer progresses on, they're going to get really tough. So that's what my win of the week is out there. I'm going to give it to the rookies. They are looking quite good out of the gate this year, and they are going to be tough as the year rolls into the end of the summer months.
It's a solid win. Yeah, I agree with that too. Wissota Modified rookies are going to be fun to watch, especially, and IMCA Modified rookies. Jessup, you got any more?
I think Dennis X just had a great win over at Granite here. He was flat-footing it looked like. So hats off to Dennis X back, because that looked like it had to hurt at some point.
He's a fun guy to follow. If you can follow Dennis
on
X
social
Racing
media.
on Facebook, yeah, that's definitely a follow.
I can't wait to see that post.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome to see later tonight. All right, so I'll highlight two rookie drivers, one from Fiesta, one from Devil's Lake. And so I want to highlight Tanner Fries, who moved up from the Wissota Hornets into the Wissota Street Stocks, was having a really solid run on Friday night in Fiesta, was running top 3, and unfortunately had a right rear tire go down with just a handful of laps to go and DNF'd, unfortunately, but looking really good right out of the gate in that Wissota Street Stock. So kudos to Tanner Fries for a really good run. And the other rookie I want to highlight is Ryan Ulrich in the 34 Wissota Midwest Mod. He was running last night at the Devil's Lake Speedway, finished 7th, but was very competitive. Very good car control. That was his first time on the track in that Wissota Midwest Mod. So when I talked to him a little bit, or when I was overhearing him, he was a little nervous getting onto the track for the first time because he hadn't really seen any track time in the Midwest Mod. And so pull off your first night, cars in one piece, and was very competitive and a very fast feature. Good job to Ryan and good job to Tanner for the wins of the week from me this week. So with that will do it for episode 12 of season 2. Be sure, as always, to like and follow the Track Packers podcast on Facebook. Check us out on our YouTube if you'd like to follow us on YouTube under Mason and Racing videos. Listeners, Spotify, Google, and Apple is where you can like and follow and subscribe. We hope to see you out there packing the track this weekend as the weather continues to improve for the 2023 season.